Good evening, everyone. Alfred Cromwell here, speaking to you from Lynchburg, Virginia. I've got a series of major announcements, very important announcements for City Tutoring. Now, if you don't care about City Tutoring, if you don't care about tutoring, there is, at the end of this video, a very interesting math problem that I've given students as an admissions. It's one of the problems that I gave this year on the admissions test for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 at City Tutoring. And but basically, I want to begin with giving you all a set of announcements. So if you're interested in the math problem, you can fast forward to the end. Since I know some of you, they say, "Oh, I don't want to know about this. I just want to get the math problem." We'll go ahead and go it to the end of the video. That's fine. But let me have my say, please, on my channel. So, a lot of interesting things have happened this year, and all of the things that have happened have been pretty much things that I did not expect. Everything that God has given me has been unexpected, and all of a sudden, when God throws something at me, I'm often left confused as to how to move forward. But I have some announcements, and I just pray that God gives me the guidance to do better. And one of the announcements is that starting in January, I will have for you all a postal mailing address. A postal mailing address. And the reason for that is because I've been getting a lot of emails, and emails, to be honest with you, they give me a lot of anxiety. I don't like emails, especially when my email is flooded, right? I always do my best to read all the mail, including the hate mail. By the way, I get some hate mail from certain people, but that's okay. We live in a free society. America is a free society, and it should remain a free society. And we have the First Amendment in the United States of America. No other country has the First Amendment. In fact, you go to places in Europe, you go to places like France, even the United Kingdom, and you could be arrested for something that you say. If you say the wrong thing, if you say something that the government there doesn't like, you could have the police visiting you at your own home. So I'm thankful to live in America. I'm thankful to live in a country that values certain freedoms, including the freedom of speech, the First Amendment. Government in America cannot persecute you, cannot prosecute you for what you say, as long as it's not threatening, of course, or you're not promoting criminal activity. But the reason I'm saying this is because starting in January, I'd rather you write to me, and I'm the sort of person that I prefer writing letters. So I'm gonna enable a mailbox for you here in Lynchburg, so that you can write to me. You can write to either me or to City Tutoring any concerns you have, if you want, including or hate. Right? If you don't like something that we do, you can email me, and I will do my very best to answer all the correspondence. And as I showed you in my previous video, I use a typewriter because I concentrate better that way when I use a typewriter and when I just sit and go through. Now, I don't guarantee a response, by the way, because if I get hundreds of letters, then probably, hundred. I don't know how many I will get, but it will probably be a lot of work to sort through. And the communications these days, they come so quickly. So I don't guarantee a response, but I will do my very best to read all the letters that I get. Even if I don't write a response to you, I will read. I do read all the correspondence, or as much as I can. I do have an assistant who also helps me with the reading. The other announcement I have is that this week is final exams here at City Tutoring. And what that means is that after exams, I will be sharing with you all, depending on the score reports, some or all of the mathematical issues or successes that come up. So I'm very much looking forward to our students when they start taking those finals. Finals started today, but they go on until Friday, because I've got ninth graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders, and of course I have college students as well. Although the college students, they don't get final exams, because most of my college classes are geared towards most of the college students who come to me, they are looking for reinforcement or for tutoring or for some type of guidance. They already get their exams at their colleges. Although if you look at some of the exams today, in some of the, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of the colleges today that there really are have become a joke. But basically, that's the other announcement. The other thing is, I urge you to please continue to support this channel. Honestly, I have never felt so blessed as I am in 2024. This past year, something has happened that ever since I've made some changes in my life and prioritize certain things, I feel very blessed by your presence. And most of the vast majority of people who surround me are positive people who work hard, people who are self reliant, people who don't ask for handouts, and people who just want to know the truth. They want to know the truth as to why math works a certain way. They want to improve their own status in life, right? And I think that that is very important because I think it helps you grow as an individual, and it also helps me grow because I'm also learning from you in a way. I'm learning from you in the way you interpret things, in the way that you do certain things, in the way you interpret mathematical problems. So I am here to help you. And like I said, I've never had people often ask me negative questions. They say, what's the worst student you have? Well, I can't think of any because I've taught for more than 20 years if I count tutoring at the high school level. And I really cannot name a single incident where any student has been bad, right? The definition of bad, meaning like, disrespectful, um, rebellious in a bad sort of way. I've had a few, you always get the class clowns, but I deal with them very swiftly, and I don't let any of that go past me, and because we want to make sure that we foster a good learning environment. But sometimes when you're dealing with teenagers and even college students, you always have someone who tries to be funny and who tries to dominate you and gear or conduct the discussion in the way that they want. These are people who are very selfish, by the way. We have them. We've always had them. Selfish people have been with us since the beginning of time. So I want to thank everyone once again. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of you, because you have given me the stamina, you have given me the energy, you have given me your encouragement in the comments. And even the people who make negative comments. I had a gentleman today who made a very negative comment. He said, "This is the worst explanation I've ever heard about quadratic equation." I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way. Honestly, I do. Because he said, "You hate the quadratic equation." Really? I love math. How can I hate the quadratic equation? I don't hate the quadratic equation, but if I'm advising a student who is taking a standardized test and I find a way that is faster than the quadratic equation, of course I'm going to tell the student what the faster way is. That doesn't mean I hate the quadratic equation, but I find, often a lot of the hate, sometimes in the comments, you'll find people who are they're just angry at themselves or at life. They've got psychological issues. Perhaps I'm not a psychologist, so I have no idea. I'm not qualified to make, but I suspect that they have something on in their lives that is making them lash out at strangers, right? Is making them lash out and say awful things. But the vast majority of you have been very positive. So if you want, you can stick around towards the end of the video. You can fast forward, but I'm going to give a speech now on what we have been doing at City Tutoring, what our philosophy is. And because there's been an awful lot of discussion about what needs to change if we are at City Tutoring, if we are to continue growth and continue to grow as a major tutoring service in the United States, but not just in the United States, also in the world. And some of this is helpful. But let's not forget, there's one basic fact that does not change. And we're going to rise, City Tutoring will rise to the top when and only when we prove to our students and their families that we alone have the expertise, we have the dedication, we've got the methods to give them the best educational future that we can offer. Now, that doesn't mean offering the same services as every other tutoring center, only with a twist, right? A lot of people do that. They say, well, they pretty much offer the same things with a twist. And it doesn't mean a few fleeting trends. It means a clear, principled, and compelling alternative that is based on our core values. And what are those values that I seek to espouse that I learned in my youth? Excellence, integrity, and personal growth. And we should take heart because those values, those fundamental values, are shared by the majority of families in the United States and abroad. I would venture to say abroad as well. And this is why it makes no sense to chase after the latest trend or what some may deem the middle ground, right? They call it the middle ground. I've been told that many times. They say, you got to reach a middle ground. You got to reach compromise. I don't compromise. I have principles. I have principles that I firmly believe in. And the center of education should not be a nebulous shifting space. And in fact, I'm going to quote the late socialist educator John Dewey. And yes, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And John Dewey once said, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. And our common ground, end quote, by the way, our common ground is grounded in I believe that all students, regardless of their background or necessarily their academic ability, they deserve the opportunity to excel in their studies. We don't do this nonsense of, we've been hearing a lot in America recently. I don't know in other countries, but I mean, I've heard in some countries they're following the trend, but here in America, it's become trendy to say, oh, if you're of a certain background, you cannot succeed. What utter nonsense, and what a disservice to students. And we don't believe that here at City Tutoring. We believe that you deserve the opportunity to excel in your studies. We take this very seriously. And what is that ground? What are we talking about? We're talking about a ground that is solid, and we have temporary fads, and you'll find often that temporary fads often fade. And we have a commitment to real, lasting educational success, and that is unwavering. And you're going to see in the months ahead, every student who comes through us, every parent, we've dealt with parents before, and community members, they're going to have the chance to decide. You always have choice in a free society. You can choose for yourself which tutoring service is truly dedicated to your academic journey. You can tell me that. But may I make just one observation, if I may? When you're dealing with the world of education, you have qualities of leadership and teaching, and that where is that tested the most? In the classroom. In the classroom. And even though teaching, there's a leadership requirement in that, you also have to have the trust and confidence of your students. If you're not in tune, and I'm saying this to my teachers, by the way, and I know a lot of teachers watch my channel, if you're not in tune with your students, if you don't know how to, what's the word I'm looking for, inspire your students, then no amount of textbooks or worksheet are going to make a difference. And I feel very fortunate because I've dealt with people who embody the principles that we have. And they don't just offer education, but they also offer clear paths for our students to success. And it's not just about tutoring, by the way, it's also mentorship, it's discipline, and it's a sense of pride in your achievements. And I'm not talking about the sinful kind of pride. I'm not talking about the egotistical pride. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about knowing, taking leadership values and knowing that you can prove that you are right. That's what I'm talking about in this video. And I have a very simple philosophy. I don't follow trends, right? I'm not about following trends. I don't care about the trends. I believe in creating a better way forward. I've been breaking trends since I was in middle school, right? People have always said, oh, you go against the grain. You're not social. You're not this. You're not that. I go by what is right. And that doesn't make me a better person, by the way. That simply makes me a person who is very sure about what I want. Um, and, I often hear from a lot of people, I hear that all other tutoring services, they have succeeded because, they've borrowed ideas from whatever they call successful methods. There's some truth in that, but they fail to provide something deeper. And often what they do is they hide or they shroud the educational process in a sort of a fog of generic approaches, quick fixes, and superficial promises. You've all been that. You've all been there. You go to a tutoring academy. The tutoring academy promises you, I'm going to make your child this, this, and that. It's all nonsense. It's not going to happen. I don't do that at City Tutoring, because what I tell students from the beginning, and I tell the parents too, I say it to their face, no, you are not going to become an A student overnight. It's simply not going to happen. And if you expect that from us, I'll give you your money back. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in the lies. Um, I often think of, there was a famous novel by Dickens, and it was called Bleak House. And he describes in Bleak House, I'm quoting, by the way, fog everywhere, fog up in the river, fog down the river, fog on the marshes, and end quote. And in the world, right, of education, what is that fog representing? Confusion, inconsistency. And so you get a lot of tutoring services. They offer you vague promises. They pledge, they tell you they're going to help the students improve their grades or boost confidence, without ever truly understanding the root causes of their struggles. And they try to be all things to all people. But that's why, in the end, they offer no lasting value. And I reject this approach. That's not what we're about. Because the way I see it, and I'm speaking it now kind of a city tutoring, but we kind of understand that a true education requires more. It's not just offering help on your homework, but it's really about providing the students with the tools to thrive. It's about building understanding, encouraging you to think critically, and motivating you to achieve excellence within a moral framework, because you have to have a framework that keeps you going. And you get a lot of tutoring services, they try to be everything to everyone, but a lot of them, they don't care about personal growth and achievement. And I'm not interested in surface level improvements. I believe in shaping students not only better, it's not just about being better at math, but who also you have to develop that self discipline and the problem solving skills that will carry you through every challenge that life throws at you, not just mathematical, but also in other ways. So, a lot of educational services, they kind of miss the point on this. You have to deliver something with passion, integrity, dedication. That's what makes the difference. It's not just about getting through a test, it's about empowering you to achieve your best in everything that you do. And I'm going to remain true to that mission. I want to be a service where students don't just learn, but they thrive. I want to plant a flag not just of academic excellence, but of moral commitment firmly in the ground. And I'm not going to retreat from this. I'm going to continue providing videos. I'm going to continue doing things that I do. Some of you, a lot of you don't know me. I have been teaching since I was in high school, by the way. Actually, if I'm going to be very specific, since I was in the seventh grade, because I began as some of you have read my book, I began as a failure in math. And yes, I do use the word failure. If you're getting F's, you're a failure. But that doesn't mean that the F is irreversible. It means that you have to do better as an individual. And I started, I had to shape up basically. So if I count my tutoring, one day I will tell you all how I started teaching. You'll laugh probably. I started teaching by talking to myself in my room and recording. But back in the day, you had cassette players. Literally, that's how I remembered things. I used to record myself. I used to listen to the sound of my own voice. And that's how I became the person I am today. One day I will give you more details on that. But if we remain, I mean, history shows you this. If you stand firm on your principles, you are likely to ultimately succeed. You have to stand firm with your principles. You cannot compromise those principles. And if you remain steadfast in your mission and you're dedicated to your values and committed to the excellence, you will not fail. So our growth here, I believe, is inevitable. I really believe it's inevitable because we are focused on what matters the most. And that is the future of our students. It's not about me. I don't care. I've already done my degree. I'm done. I've done my math degree. I've done my master's in pure mathematics. But now I want to share that passion with students. There's a lot of students in America and around the world. I know for a fact they're struggling at math. I get email. I get messages even from Brazil. Can you imagine that in different languages that I don't even understand? But I know I get the gist of what they're trying to say. I had a gentleman the other day. He wrote me from Brazil. I could not understand most of the wording. I could get a gist. I used a translator, and I finally got what they were trying to tell me. Same message. You see, humanity shares the same problems, right? We have a problem of logic. And the gentleman from Brazil said, "You know what? I'm suffering in math. I don't get it. They don't explain the why." I've had students from India, as far away as India. Can you imagine that? An Indian student all the way in Mumbai, used to be called Bombay, by the way, all the way in Mumbai, writing to me and saying, "Look, I need your recommendations on calculus because in India, they teach them a very formulaic approach." And if you think about it, right, there was a famous Indian mathematician, by the way, Ramanujan, one of my favorite mathematicians. You can watch the film, The Man Who Knew Infinity. But the Indian education system, I'm somewhat familiar with. I know that they teach a very formulaic approach. It's all about doing certain things for tests. That's not really deep thinking though, and it does a disservice to the deep thinkers that who do exist in India. Oftentimes they have to emigrate to other countries like the UK or the US where free thinking is promoted. But very few other countries promote free thinking. And I hope that in America we continue that tradition of promoting free thinking because you need to be a free thinker to be a mathematician. But anyway, I hope I didn't bore anyone with my speech. You can fast forward to the problem, and I'm going to share with you all now a problem that came up on the admissions test for City Tutoring. You let me know in the comments down below. You can let me know anything you want in the comments down below, but let me know what you think of this problem. Let me know what your solution is. I'm not going to give you the answer just yet. I want to do a follow up video. By the way, some of you, and I'm aware, some of you called me out. You tried to call me out on my previous video on fractional exponents. You said, "Oh, you didn't put the parentheses the right way." Give me a break. Of course, the principle I was trying to communicate was the imaginary numbers versus the real numbers, and you saw that in the proof that I did. Right now, I'm not a perfect person, by the way. I don't claim to be a perfect person. If I claim to be a perfect person, that would make me a liar. I can't name anyone who is perfect. But you all understood what I was trying to get at the video. But there were always some people who have to always have a pernickety point. They always want to make a negative comment because that's what gets them off. That's what in their whole life. That is what makes them thrive, to bring down the work of other people. But anyway, I didn't want to make this video about them because they're not the protagonists here. It should be all about you, your math needs, and that's what we're here for. Thank you for watching. Thank you for blessing me with your presence. Please subscribe to this channel if you like it. If you like it, if you find it useful, if you think that I can improve, whatever it is, please let me know in the comment sections. I'm all ears. I don't censor any comment, by the way, even the nastiest. I've had people saying really horrible, horrific things to me because I've got God, and I'm not intimidated by people who make negative comments. So if that's what makes you happy, go ahead. But the vast majority of you have made very positive comments. So I thank you for that. May you have a good evening and be blessed. All right, everyone. So here is the problem. If x equals, and you have an index here of t minus 1, radical or surd, if you prefer, the root symbol t, y equals t raised to the t over t minus 1. I'm going to circle this in red because I know I'm always going to get people in the comments who say, "Oh, you didn't type it in properly." And they know exactly what I mean. I'm going to circle in red the entire exponent. All right? So that I don't hear any complaints. This is the exponent. I'll say exp. It's t over t minus 1. So this is t, the base is t, and it's being raised to t over t minus 1. And the condition is t is greater than 0 and t is not equal to 1. So based on that condition, okay, the question is which of the following choices represents a relationship, a proper relationship, mathematical, between x and y. Only one choice is correct. Let me know in the comments down below what you think and why. This was a question that appeared on the City Tutoring admission test for students who wanted to take our algebra courses, because we do level tests and we do place people in the appropriate levels. We don't give participation trophies here. We don't do this whole, oh, you tried, so you're a wonderful person. No, you got to show mastery, and that's why students are very grateful to us, because they know that we don't make up, feel good stories. We know that here at City Tutoring, you're actually going to get really, really strict feedback from us. So let me know in the comments what you think about this problem and why you think whatever answer you choose is correct. And then we'll talk about it in a follow up video.